All right, looks like we're ready to go. It looks like the meeting has started and the webinar is recorded. Thank you all if you're joining us. I see we have 17 participants now. We'll get started in just a couple of more minutes.
Hi, do you know how to assign me or do you need me to talk you through it?
You need to be assigned as a co-host or
I think first as a co-host.
Okay.
And then you have to go to the caption icon at the bottom of the screen. And somehow, I think, click on the up arrow and look for something that might say assign manual captioner. Or enable manual captions. I'm not sure exactly what it will say on your end. Are you finding anything like that?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
You.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Once again, if you are signed in to our webinar today, we will be starting in just a couple of minutes. Thank you all for joining us. This is the 4-H Military Extension Educator Program, a new RFA for 2023. And we will be having the RFA announcement and technical assistance webinar beginning very soon. It is now 1 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and give it about 1 more minute so that folks can join in, and then we kick it off. All right. It is now 1:01. We will go ahead and get started. Thank you all.
Welcome to the National Institute of Food and Agriculture's 4-H Military Extension Educator Program Technical Assistance webinar. You will see and hear us refer to this program by the acronym MEE or ME throughout this webinar. This is a newly established program in partnership with the United States Department of Defense Office of Military, Community, and Family Policy. Fiscal year 2023 is the first time NIFA is soliciting applications for this funding opportunity. Approximately $190,000 is available to fund one application. Applicants must be submitted online through grants.gov by 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Tuesday, September 5th. Applications received after this deadline will not be considered for funding. I'm Annie Cicerini with NIFA's Division of Youth and 4-H and the National Program Leader for the Youth and 4-H Military Grant Programs. I am presenting today along with my teammate, Christopher Petty. Chris works for USDA NIFA as a Program Specialist in the Division of Youth and 4-H and supports the Youth and 4-H Military Grant Programs. Please mute your phone throughout the presentation. This presentation is being recorded and will be posted on nifa.usda.gov for anytime viewing. Questions can be submitted throughout the webinar in the chat box. Any questions submitted that were not answered during the course of the presentation will be answered at the end of the webinar. USDA is happy to field any general high-level inquiries that applicants may have regarding the application process. However, USDA staff is unable to offer specific guidance on how to craft, structure, or write one's proposal. USDA is an equal opportunity provider, employer, and lender. This slide contains contact information for individuals with disabilities to request reasonable accommodations. Additionally, language access services will be provided to limited English proficient individuals upon request. Anyone wishing to file a program discrimination complaint can utilize the phone number, fax number, or postal mailing address listed on this slide. Today's presentation will be divided into 5 sections. Part 1 is an overview of our agency, the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. You will see and hear us refer to our agency as NIFA throughout this webinar. Part 2 is an overview of the 4-H Military Extension Educator Program. Part 3 are details about the request for applications, referred to by the acronym RFA. Part 4 is the proposal evaluation process, and Part 5 is additional information, resources, and answering questions. The National Institute of Food and Agriculture is the extramural science funding agency within USDA's Research, Education, and Economics mission area. NIFA employs around 350 staff to accomplish its mission. The agency invests and supports initiatives that ensure the long-term viability of agriculture by administering more than 2,400 awards annually. In fiscal year 2023, the agency's budget is over $2 billion. NIFA provides funding and strategic leadership for programs that ensure groundbreaking discoveries in agricultural-related sciences and technologies reach the people who can put them into practice. NIFA advances agricultural sciences by investing in research, extension, and education activities across the country in the areas of environmental systems and climate change, economic prosperity through bio-based innovation, education and equity in agricultural sciences, the human sciences, food safety, human nutrition and nutrition security, sustainable agricultural production systems, and 4-H and positive youth development. USDA NIFA has partnered with the U.S. Department of Defense for more than 40 years to support military-connected children and youths and to ensure that service members are able to focus on readiness and the mission. In fiscal year 2023, the U.S. Department of Defense's Office of Military, Community, and Family Policy partnered with the Division of Youth and 4-H to establish a new grant program, which we're here to discuss today. It's entitled the 4-H Military Extension Educator Program, or ME for short. DoD child and youth programs provide high-quality educational and recreational programs at over 760 child and youth facilities for more than 395,000 military-connected children, youth, and teens between the ages of 6 weeks to 18 years old. The purpose of the 4-H Military Extension Educator Program is to provide assistance through a grant to land-grant universities and colleges to offer technical assistance to DoD child and youth program staff and coordinate with 4-H Extension faculty and staff throughout the land-grant university system to support and enhance, expand, or establish positive youth development programs and activities on and off military installations. The overarching goals and desired outcomes for the 4-H Military Extension Educator Program are to provide support to military services and the U.S. Department of Defense Child and Youth Program staff in delivering and promoting positive youth development programs and activities. 2, it's to coordinate the establishment, sustainment, and expansion of opportunities for military-connected children, youth, and teens in 4-H across the cooperative extension system. And 3, identify opportunities and needs for military-connected youth on and off installation through information gathering and knowledge sharing. Support, coordinate, and identify. Applicants must submit projects that supports the positive youth development of military-connected youth and incorporate the activities shown on this slide into their project purpose, approach, and design. Those activities include assisting the Ohio State University with a virtual lab school to incorporate professional development for Department of Defense youth development professionals. Second, assist Purdue University with their Military Teen Adventure Camps grant program. Third, partner with the Cooperative Extension faculty and staff to implement programs that provide support to military-connected youth and teens. 4, work with DoD's Office of Military Community and Family Policy to increase awareness of youth programs within the department. 5, organize DoD teen leadership opportunities. And last but certainly not least, assist DoD Child and Youth Program staff on special initiatives and programs as requested. Please read the RFA for more detailed information about each of these 6 activities.
Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're watching. I'm going to visit with you a little bit about some eligibility requirements. First off, only land-grant institutions are eligible to receive funding through the Military Extension Educator Program. And the awards may, if you are a recipient, you may subcontract the institutions and organizations not eligible to apply as the lead, provided that such an organization is necessary for the conduct of the project. Duplicate or multiple submissions per eligible institution is not allowed, as the slide indicates, and NIFA will disqualify both applications if an applicant submits duplicate or multiple submissions. So please remember 1 application per institution, and we will be limited to 1 award. The project and grant type are as listed on this slide, and this coincides with RFA page 8 and 9. The project type is extension, and the grant type is listed as regular, or you may see it as standard. Extension projects conduct programs and activities that deliver science-based knowledge and informal education programs to people, which enable them to make practical decisions. Extension projects may also include related matters such as certification programs, in-service trainings, client recruitment and services, curriculum development, instructional materials and equipment, and innovative instructional methodologies appropriate to form educational programs. Now, a regular grant, or you may see that as a standard grant, those support targeted scientific research, education, teaching, extension, and also integrated projects. And under a regular or standard grant type, an eligible individual institution, a campus, or a branch institution of a state system may submit a grant application for project activities to be undertaken principally on behalf of its own students or its faculty. And those are to be managed primarily by its own personnel. The applicant executes the project without the requirement of sharing grant funds with other project partners. Cost sharing and matching. All right, there is no matching requirement for this program. So that's some good news for you. There's no competitive advantage for an applicant to provide a match. And if your project is selected for funding, any match amount will be considered voluntary. I'm going to turn it back over to Annie to discuss the application details and documents.
NIFA anticipates making one MEE program award. Approximately $190,000 is available for a 12-month project period. The request for applications is 23 pages in length. You can find the RFA on grants.gov by doing a keyword search in the upper right-hand corner of the page with the program code MPP or the funding opportunity number that you see on this page. USDA, NIFA, EXCA 010106. Read and follow all guidelines and the request for applications and the NIFA grants application guide before submitting these key documents. Successful proposals excite the reviewers, are well written, succinct, and logical, address the program purpose and priorities and activities, take an innovative approach and don't duplicate what others are doing, have a solid and detailed plan for identifying needs, program development, and implementation, and have a solid and detailed evaluation plan for outcome-based reporting and measuring impacts. Next, we'll discuss each of these key components of your application in more detail. The project summary. The project summary or abstract must show how the project goals align with the program goals of the 4-H Military Extension Educator Program. Please look to the NIFA grants application guide for more instructions on this document. The project narrative. The project narrative must not exceed 6 1.5 space pages of written text and up to 4 1.5 space additional pages for figures and tables. The font size for tables should be no smaller than 11 points times New Roman. The page limits outlined here ensure fair and equitable competition. Appendices to the project narrative are allowed if they are directly germane to the proposed project. Do not add appendices to circumvent the page limit. Proposals that fail to comply with the required content and format will not be considered for funding. Material exceeding the stated page limits or formatting structure will not be considered. Incomplete and or incompliant proposals will not be considered. Please note that when you're doing your project timeline to include an approximate start date of September 1st, 2023 and an end date of August 31st, 2024. The project narrative must include these 4 sections and headings. All projects funded by the ME program should incorporate collaborative approaches that integrate the expertise of 4-H military specialists, extension educators, and DoD Child and Youth Program staff to build capacity and new solutions that can be deployed to support the positive youth development of military-connected youth. Projects are expected to produce high-quality reports for DoD's Office of Military Family Readiness Policy, specifically related to the programs and activities supported by the 4-H ME program. The recipient must provide evidence that they have capacity to complete monthly reports, including synthesis of program impact, outcomes, and activities throughout the length of the award. The budget and budget narrative. In a separate narrative titled Budget Narrative, You'll explain and justify all requested budget items and costs. You'll detail how the totals on the R&R budget were determined and demonstrate a clear connection between costs and the proposed project activities. For this program, allowable direct costs include personnel costs. Funds may be used for personnel whose time and effort can be specifically identified and easily and accurately traced to project activities. Personnel hired to accomplish program objectives may work remotely. Travel funds for a project director meeting. Recipients are expected to attend a NIFA-sponsored grant management meeting during the project's period of performance. The budget narrative should include travel funds for the project director and any additional key staff as reasonably determined by the recipient and NIFA to attend one in-person meeting throughout the 12-month project period. Project activities that are unallowable direct costs under the MEE program include promotional giveaway items such as t-shirts, hats, tote bags, mugs, etc. Construction of a building or facility, breakfast before or dinner after a meeting, lunch during a meeting without justification, alcoholic beverages and/or entertainment, and any costs expended after expiration of the award date. Additionally, indirect costs are limited to 10% of the total federal funds awarded for this program. A data management plan. A data management plan is required for the ME program. Applicants should clearly articulate how the project director and the co-project directors plan to manage and disseminate the data generated by the project. The data management plan will be considered during the merit review process. The application submission. Please read the request for applications to make sure you are eligible to apply and understand the instructions. If you determine your organization is eligible and wants to apply, follow the instructions in the RFA. Grants.gov is for all federal agencies and many programs are posted there. The request for applications, or the RFA, is specific to the MEE program. The NIFA Grants Application Guide includes NIFA-specific instructions and requirements that are just as important as the RFA, so please read it. Applications are due in grants.gov by 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on September 5th, 2023. Only electronic applications through grants.gov are accepted. Remember to submit in advance of the deadline. Get a case ID number from grants.gov if you are having submission problems. All attachments must be submitted in PDF and not password protected. Grants.gov will not check for this, so you must. Check the grants.gov manifest for errors. See instructions and the NIFA Grants Application Guide for more details on this. You may correct errors and resubmit through grants.gov up to the deadline. We will accept the latest valid application received before the deadline. The proposal evaluation process. NIFA evaluates each application in a two-part process. First, we screen each application to ensure that it meets the administrative requirements set forth in the RFA. All administrative requirements must be met in order for the application to proceed to the next level of review. Second, a scientific peer review process will be used to technically evaluate applications that have met the administrative requirements using a review panel. After each review panel has completed its deliberations, the NIFA program staff will recommend that your project is either approved for support from currently available funds or declined due to insufficient funds or unfavorable review. NIFA reserves the right to negotiate with the project director or the submitting institution regarding project revisions, such as reductions to a scope of work or funding level period or method of support, prior to recommending any project for funding. After the review process has been completed, NIFA sends copies of reviews, not including the identity of reviewers, and a summary, if applicable, of the review panel comments to the project directors. The competitive review process is designed to be fair and unbiased. The review panel will be comprised of individuals representing diverse backgrounds with relevant training, expertise, and experience. Evaluation criteria that you see here are the only basis for peer review. Only information in the application is evaluated. The evaluation criteria for the ME program include the project goals identified align with the purpose of the ME program and support the positive youth development of military-connected youth. The described extension approach will result in impacts and outcomes that are important to the target stakeholders. Stakeholders are involved in identifying and developing project goals and objectives and will be involved during the project. Information gathered by the project team we deliver to stakeholders and will allow them to identify opportunities and share outcomes related to the ME program by the end of the project period. And the project team has members who have worked with the target stakeholders in the past and have experience with the described extension approach. This slide includes the average timeline for NIFA's competitive programs. For the ME program, the request for applications was published on August 3rd and is open for 30 days. Applications are due by 5 p.m. Eastern on September 5th in grants.gov. The agency anticipates announcing or notifying successful and unsuccessful applicants by September 15th, 2023, and expects to have federal awards in place no later than September 30th, 2023. That is an accelerated version of the average competitive program timeline, which takes 3 to 5 months from the due date of the proposal to an award being made to the institution. Next, we'll go over some helpful additional information. It is significant to note that USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture does not have examples of projects that have been funded under this program. ME is a newly established program, and this fiscal year is the first time USDA is soliciting applications for this funding opportunity. Here are 2 helpful links for upcoming events. The NIFA events calendar for upcoming deadlines, meetings, and webinars is posted at nifa.usda.gov/events. An upcoming request for applications or release calendar is also posted on the NIFA website. In addition, there are numerous grant resources available online on the NIFA's website that can help you through the application process, including links to the funding opportunities, the competitive grants flowcharts, the NIFA grant resource, which includes grant training, the NIFA policy guide, how to determine indirect costs, and a guide for preparation of the NIFA applications via grants.gov. And then there's the information on awarded grants through our CRIS system. Again, you will not find any ME programs listed there because this is a new program. And next, we'll open it up for questions.
All right, there is one question in the question and answer section, and that is, these proposals should include at least one of these project activities. And if they want to clarify the question, I believe they're talking about research or extension activities.
This is an extension project, so it should include extension activities. In the RFA, there is a section that lists the activities that the project proposal should include. Those start, the first one in that list, and we covered it. We can go back to that slide, but the first one is working with the Ohio State University.
All right.
And that information starts on page 6 and goes to page 7 of the RFA.
And I don't see any more questions in the chat. If anybody wants to open up their microphone and ask a question, they can do that right now. And it says, I understand those activities such as Ohio State University is an example. Actually, what you see there on the project activities, all of those things will need to be incorporated into the project. Is that correct, Annie?
That is correct.
And we have a question, can in-home child care providers apply, or is this just for institutions? And apologies, they're late to the Zoom. The answer to that question is this is just for land grant universities, and it can be subawarded out to others. We have another similar question. Is this an opportunity for a single youth program or more for a larger organization? And I think slide 11 that you see there indicates what the awardee will need to do, those 6 activities. This is for a land grant institution to apply for, land grants only, and they will need to be able to do items 1 through 6.
Chris, can you move to the eligibility slide? Might be helpful.
Right, as Andy indicated, and following RFA page 11, these are your institutions eligible to receive the award. Do we have any other questions? That looks like all the questions that we have. If anybody would like to come off mic and ask a question, you're welcome to do so. I will forward to the end of the presentation so you can see our contact information if you have any other questions. And with that, we thank you for attending today.
Yes, thank you for joining us.